Hey everyone, so I've started to see some things that have made me feel that age manipulation will play a major role in Wano. Now, I know a lot of you might be rolling your eyes because at this point, it's kind of like, haven't we covered this already? Like, there were theories going around about this stuff ever since we found out that Momo somehow met Roger when he was a kid. Back then, people were talking about if maybe there was time travel, if Momo was secretly an adult, if Wano was in some sort of a time warp, and then, what do you know, it turned out people's guesses were actually pretty good, right? Momo and the samurai gang, they turned out to be from the past. So, now we're done with that, right? Time stuff is out of the way. We know Momo is in fact an 8-year-old kid. Why am I bringing up the possibility of an adult Momo at this point? It's because I don't think we're done yet. I think that by the end of this arc, we are going to see age manipulation of 3 major characters. So to start with, when a new arc begins, I like trying to look for what themes may be important throughout the arc, because each One Piece arc has a unique set of themes that it really focuses on. Lots of times the main themes of the arc don't really become apparent till we're a good way through the story and all the ideas that have been, being emphasized start coming together. So I can't tell you right now what Wano is about. I don't think the ideas behind the story have really become fully fleshed out yet at all. And I think we're a good way away from the real substance of this arc. But it's good to start looking early, right? Now, we all know that the major reveal of this arc so far was that the samurai are, in fact, from the past. They have traveled from Wano 20 years ago to the present. We learned that Oden's wife was named Lady Toki, which comes from the Japanese word for time, as I understand, and she actually had a time devil fruit. We know that she herself has jumped forward through history several times, and many have speculated that she comes from the Void Century itself. And along those lines, in this arc, we are following the story of the Kozuki clan, the creators of the poneglyphs themselves. And so I think it's very possible that this is the arc where we start getting some of the big reveals about the secrets of the world from hundreds of years past. So the point I'm getting at is, I don't think that the samurai being from Wano 20 years ago is just a random, one and done plot point. I think it's very possible that time in general will be a theme in Wano going forward. Now, maybe I'm completely off the mark on all that. Maybe I'm reading too much into just the early chapters of Wano. But after chapter 935, I started thinking about some of the things a few characters in this arc have been saying. So to start with, we have Momo. I know a lot of readers might not like Momo, but the fact is that this kid is set to be a very important figure in the storyline. Now, the obvious problem is that it's hard to see exactly how he can clearly contribute to the Allied forces' efforts besides simply representing the Kozuki clan. Now, sure, maybe he gets a big moment where he manages to rally the samurai, though that hasn't gone too well so far. But if you actually look at his personal motivations right now, I don't think that will be enough. Momo wants to fight. He's emphasized that multiple times now. He wants to be at the center of the battle. And so far, he has spent all his time training to get stronger. But he's still an 8-year-old kid. It doesn't matter how much he trains in the next couple weeks, he's not going to be relevant in this battle as a fighter, and that's one of his main frustrations. And more specifically, when flashing back to his parents' deaths and begging the Straw Hats for help, the greatest pain he felt was that he wanted to become an adult. He wanted to grow strong and actually be able to fight. He wanted to personally be able to avenge his parents and protect his servants, but he can't, and that's why he has to ask Luffy to fight for him, because he's just a kid. And sure, that was all kind of the point. This is the reason he needs Luffy. He's just a kid. He needs help from grown-ups. We could take this at face value, and I certainly did at the time, but considering time manipulation has already come into play this arc, it makes you wonder. Especially considering the fact that there is another important young character introduced this arc, who also dreams of growing up to become strong and capable, specifically in her case and as an enchanting kunoichi. That is Tama's dream after all, and sure, while right now she can contribute to the alliance with her Kibidangos, she can't actually contribute as a kunoichi as she would like at the moment. Now, I know you might be thinking, okay, so what? What's the big deal about Oda showing 2 kids who want to become adults and get stronger. That doesn't seem like such a big deal, and I didn't think that much of it till in chapter 934 and 935 we started learning more about Hubero. And his situation is kind of the opposite. This is a man who once was an extremely strong, respected warrior, one of the greatest samurai of Wano, and now he has become an absolutely pathetic, tiny, shriveled, weak old man. And sure, we have seen plenty of characters in this series who have declined from their primes, but Hubero is nothing like them. With Hubero, Oda's really hammering in how tragically he has fallen from the old days, how he is barely even a shell of his former self, how he is too weak to even be called fodder at this point. This is nothing like old Whitebeard or old Rayleigh or old Chinjiao. Hyogero's tragedy is that he has become like absolutely unrecognizable. He's a frail old grandpa. He's like the joke of the prison. Like when we first met him, I think we all assumed that this guy had like zero significance and was a typical random innocent weakling figure for Luffy to help out. Now, interestingly, Oda has really made a point of emphasizing how much Hubero longs for the past. How meeting Luffy was so important because Luffy gave him a taste of the past. Now, if we assume that there will be some role for this pathetic, weak old man, then as it looks right now, it would be something along the lines of rallying more samurai or yakuza to their side. But it's clear that the great Hubero the Flower that once was is never coming back. It's impossible for him to really become himself again at this point. Oda has made it really clear that he is, way too weak for a couple weeks of training to do anything. Now, what's most interesting to me is that with this character, we've actually been introduced to a clear counterpart in Fukurujo, the head of the ninja. Hubero and Fukurujo were the leaders of the two main factions under Oden, and Fukurujo betrayed Orochi while Hubero stayed loyal. So Fuguro the traitor versus Hubero the chivalric loyal follower seems like a natural matchup to me, but it would obviously be an impossibility in Hyugero's current state. Fukurojo is still healthy, whereas Hubero has suffered for his loyalty and has become unable to fight. So, to recap, we have three important characters who have been introduced so far whose primary pain seems to be related to their ages. Two children who want to be older so that they can be strong and fight with everyone else, and a man who longs for the past when he was strong enough and able to uphold his chivalric code. Now, maybe nothing actually comes of any of this. Maybe this is just a few characters wishing they could be stronger so they can fight, like other One Piece side characters in other arcs have wished for as well, but I personally feel some parallels between these three, characters' frustrations, and this just so happens to be in an arc that all started with time manipulation. Am I going off a lot of evidence here? No, I fully admit that. This is more so based on my gut feelings at the moment that this could be a possibility, although the last thing I would add is that there is a character who has very recently re-entered the plot, literally a chapter before Wano started, in fact, who could theoretically make all this happen. Someone who has already been hinted to have a very important, very valuable ability that will likely play a major role in the story one way or another. Yes, I know I'm not the first to say that Bonnie will age Momo, but I'm just saying that that there is in fact an ability user in existence that can manipulate the ages of all three characters. And while Bonnie is halfway across the world and marry Joa at the moment, I personally believe that the events of Reverie were always set to ultimately spill over to Wano anyway, with some characters, certainly at least the Marines, making their way over to Wano. In my opinion, that's why the two plot lines were scheduled to happen simultaneously, with Reverie specifically scheduled to be a week long, so that no matter what, it could conclude like partway through the Wano arc. And finally, the absolute last thought I'll leave you all with, not even a point really, just a thought. A lot of people who have been speculating about this Rocks captain who was in his prime 40 years ago, a guy from a completely different era, basically like 2 eras back. There's been a lot of speculation about whether or not he would be coming back in the story. I don't know if that plays into this at all, whether age manipulation of an extremely old pirate to bring him back into his prime could be a possibility. If age manipulation would be a thing at all this arc, like I'm guessing, but that's just something to think about. Yeah. So, anyway, this was overall definitely one of my more speculative theories. Shoutouts to YouTuber Ohara for the awesome thumbnail as usual. And if you enjoyed this video, then definitely like, share, and subscribe.